I'm Darren, M0WIT. This is a short video introducing the foundation licence. The foundation licence exam requires you to follow the syllabus issued by the RSGB and then sit a multiple choice exam later. The syllabus is broken down into sections, and the majority of the foundation exam requires you to recall various facts. Of course you need to understand things, but it's mainly recall. The first section is licence conditions and station identification, and that is broken down into sections as well. The first section is the nature of amateur radio, types of licence and call signs. The first thing that you need to know is amateur radio is a hobby, obviously in radio communication, but it's very much focused on self-training and self-learning, basically experimentation, and it's totally non-commercial. You aren't allowed to use it for business, and any forms of commercial advertising are not permitted. So you can't say, oh, such and such a radio shop is absolutely brilliant and you need to shop there. That is an advert, you're not allowed to do it. Of course people will talk about buying new radios and where they've bought from. They might talk about supermarkets where they do the shopping, but you're not supposed to advertise. There's three basic or three types of licence in the UK: foundation, intermediate and full. The exams are quite often referred to as foundation, intermediate and advanced, but the advanced actually gives you a full licence. The call signs, we have three foundation call signs now in the UK: M3, M6 and M7. Anybody with a prefix of M3, M6 and M7 is a foundation licence holder. If it's 2 and a letter, and the reason I say and a letter will come obvious in a few minutes, and a 0 or a 1, that is an intermediate licence. And the full licences begin with either G, M1, M0, or there's a few M5s out there. So those are the full licence holders. We do have regional identifiers. Now in the intermediate call sign, the E, a letter E, is for England. Any other licence class doesn't have an identifier for England, so it's just M6, M7, M0 or any range of G's. When you go to Scotland, the regional identifier is M for Mike, and the intermediates go to M. The other call signs get an M after the first letter, so it'll be GM, MM and that sort of thing. And the easy way to remember the M for Scotland, because it's not quite obvious straight away, think of McDonald. So M for McDonald, because McDonald is a Scottish name. When you go to Wales, it's quite easy to remember, it's W. So you get MW, GW or 2W for the three classes of licences. Then the other ones that you need to know are I for Northern Ireland, Southern Ireland or ERA, whatever you want to call it, is totally separate to the UK and a totally different call sign. So you get GI, MI or 2I. We've got some smaller ones. Isle of Man is a D. The way that people told me when I was learning to remember it is D for Douglas, the capital of the Isle of Man. You've got J for Jersey, U for Guernsey, because you can't have G because G is in the ordinary licensing things. So G for Guernsey. Those are the main ones you need to know. There are other identifiers that you will come across for the various countries, but they are usually for club call signs. You might also hear suffixes after the call signs. So like my call sign is M0WIT. I might put an A or a P, an M or because I'm a full licence holder, MM. But it's only full licence holders that are permitted to operate maritime mobile. That is what M stands for. So I might be M0WIT stroke MM, or if it's M, it's just mobile, P is portable, and A is for an alternative address. So if I'm operating at my friend's house away from my main address using my call sign, I'll be M0WIT stroke A. The suffixes are optional, you don't have to use them, but it's often quite useful to use them so people know that you're away from your home address. And sometimes people chase mobile operators, particularly maritime mobile, but those are the suffixes that you will come across. The foundation intermediate, as I said a moment ago, don't allow operating from a vessel at sea, and no licensee can operate while they're airborne in the UK. Some licensing authorities do allow airborne operation, and you might hear stroke AM for aeronautical mobile on some of those, but the UK not allowed. The foundation license purely and simply allows you to operate basically commercially built radios. You can't build your own radios, and you can't modify your transmitting apparatus. That has to wait until you get your intermediate or foundation license. When you get your license, you will be required to notify Ofcom of your name and address, and your main station address, which is usually a place of abode where you live. You have to, if ever you move, you have to notify Ofcom of any change immediately. There's no grace period of it. Immediately you move, you should notify Ofcom that you've moved, and this is your new address, this is your main station address. And the same thing if you change your name, which is something that's less likely, but it does happen, especially if you get married or anything like that. You must also confirm with Ofcom on a 5-yearly basis that your details are the same. Basically you log into their what they call their web portal. You've got to change something, so what RSGB suggests is that you put a space on the end of your address and save it, and that revalidates your license and updates your details with Ofcom to say that you've checked in and you're still alive, still wanting your license. If you don't do it, it does lapse, and I think it costs you 20 quid to get it back if you want to reactivate your license, because you've got to do it on paper generally. And if you don't confirm your details, or if you do something wrong, say you got caught operating above the power limits for the various classes of license, which you will learn about later, Ofcom can revoke the license, which means you can't operate anymore, so you've got to keep it up to date. And for the purpose of the exam, you've got to know that you should identify your station on a regular basis when you're on air. It used to say 15 minutes, but now I think the term is at reasonable intervals. And also, when you change frequency, you should re-identify your station, so you give your call sign out basically. If you change your mode of transmission, so if you go from SSB to FM or AM, or change any of the digital protocols, you should re-identify your station. If there's a change of supervisor of the station, so like if I was operating with another person, supervising say a foundation license holder, using my call sign, if the supervisor of the station changes, you've got to re-identify yourself. And also if you cross a border, so if you're mobile and you go from England into Wales or into Scotland, your secondary locator will change, so you need to re-identify your station. So that basically wraps up the nature of amateur radio, the types of licence and call signs. So thanks for watching, and stay safe. This is M0WIT signing off.